Yo guys, so today's Wednesday. Look what just showed up in the mail. So this is the whole new engine harness for an '04 Grand Am GT. Same plugs. Holy shit. Okay, this is the custom part of the harness, and that's the downpipe. And so he said to chop off that 3-bolt flange directly at the flange, and this will slip over it, and you can either clamp it in or weld it in, and that bolts directly to the 3/8. I really want to try to use the ZZP catless downpipe, but if it just absolutely will not work, then I'll use this. But if anything, I'll save it as a backup. But that is awesome. And then I got the new headlights in for the new '06 Pre for my mom, so I'm gonna pop those open, go ahead and install those real quick. But yeah, man, I am super stoked. More progress on the Grand Am, so I'll give you all another update on the Grand Am once I make it over to the storage. Hey YouTube. Alright, so today is Thursday. I'm over here at the Grand Am storage. So this is everything I got from Gage so far. So this is the custom part of the engine harness. So pretty much this plugs in over by the alternator. This is the jumper wire, which I guess this is what I didn't have. This is what I was needing. And so he left me wire to splice into this. This goes to the map sensor, under blower. So this goes underneath the snout, and then this goes to the 3 rear injectors and the map sensor, and then this wraps around to the front side of the engine. Make this right, okay. And so on the front side of the engine, this plug is going to plug in right on the front side of the blower by the fill cap. Oh, that's a different harness. Okay, so this one goes down to the coolant temp. So here, let's do it on here. So as you can see, this is the plug. It's over here. Same plug. So this harness essentially is going to lay across back here. Map sensor goes over to the map. There's the rear injectors. And then this is the jumper wire. This is going to wrap around, or I guess it's going to run under the blower here, plug into the front 3 injectors, and then go down over here to the coolant temp. And then the other part of the harness, which is over here. So this is going to plug in right here in the front, and then these are going to go to the 3/4 coils. So that's going to go to the 3/4 crank sensor, 3/4 coil, pink and black. So that's for the rear, the plugs. So I definitely have to pull this whole harness. So I'm guessing that's just going to plug into some of the wires on this. And look, reverse lights are right there. Yeah, so I'm going to have to swap the whole engine harness. But he's got this whole harness set up to where this harness he made will just plug right into that and work. So everything should work properly. So what I have to focus on now is just getting all of this old wire harness removed. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I've got to get all the old harness removed off of this thing, which means I have to undo all the starter wires, AC compressor, NOx sensor, unplug all the injectors, which I've already started the other night whenever I was over here. But yeah, I've just got to just undo a bunch of stuff and just unrun all this wiring, pull the battery back out. I've got to pull that fuse box tray and everything back out so I can unrun all those wires. I've got to drop the ECU out of the below the dash, get it unhooked, shove the wires back through, pull the wires out of the bottom of the fuse box. So I've got to undo everything to get all this old harness off, and then install the new 2004 Grand Am GT harness, because this, like I said before, this is an 03 harness. So we'll get the 04 harness back on here because that's what the car is, and there's like everything should just plug right in and work, and it should crank with the key. So I'm gonna keep working on getting all this old wiring pulled off of here, and then I'll give you guys another update. Alright, you guys, so I've got most of the harness off of the engine. So I still have this wire that goes from the oil pressure sensor down to the front of the harness, and I just cut it off where I'd spliced it on, because I don't know if he extended the one on that harness, and I want it to be plugged in, so I just left that for now. But I'm gonna double check and see if the one that he has in there, that harness, if he wired it in, and if he did, then I'll pull this out. But other than that, right there, I have the starter is out. It's right there. It's all disconnected. The ABS, all that stuff is all disconnected over here. I have all the harness pulled up here. So all I have left to do now is to undo this main power, which will undo this power wire here, which goes over to the battery. And then I'll have to just pull the headlight wire and the amp wire off of the power stud, which is no big deal. And then there's a tab under here you have to push up with a screwdriver, and that lets the whole fuse box pull forward. And I have to flip it upside down, take the bottom off, take all the, loosen all the bolts, pull all the harnesses out of the bottom of the fuse box. And then I'll also have to drop that ECM under the dash, get that pushed through, and then that's pretty much all the harness. I just cut a lot of it off, just because it was just kind of getting in the way. And then also over here, I pulled the ICM and the coil packs off. And I was trying to pull this whole bracket off, and the engine is sitting down too far, so I can't even unbolt the pulley and take the pulley off to be able to slide the bracket off. So the bracket's just stuck on there currently. I don't have the cherry picker over here. It's at the house. But I mean, other than that, everything is going really smooth. I did get the front power log installed, so I need to get this stock rear manifold off so I can get the rear power log and the ceramic crossover installed, and then then everything will be ready to go. So I mean, I've still got quite a bit left to do. I still need to pull this rear fuel rail off and swap out the 3 rear injectors with the other 3 off of the 07, and then I'm also swapping out the spark plugs with the 104s. And so I need to take these other 103s out so I can put them in the rear of the 06, because right now it still has the other 3. Where are those? Yeah, it still has these in the rear side of the engine on the 06. So I definitely want to swap those around with the 103s, and because it does kind of seem to have a little stutter misfire there, so I want to go to the swap excuse me, those rear other 3 rear spark plugs on that, and that should get that thing going. This thing runs and drives so good now since I did all the suspension stuff on it. It's great. It drives straight. The steering wheel's a little crooked because I did an eyeball alignment, but it drives straight, and steering's nice and tight. So very happy with the progress on that car from my mom. But yeah, I mean, there's still quite a bit left to do. I'm gonna have to tear some of this apart so I can swap stuff around, get the new harness on, and but it's getting there. So I'm going to keep working on this and give you guys another update. Alright, you guys, so I was able to get the other 3 fuel injectors swapped around. Here's the old 3. So, yep, got the other 3 off of the 07 installed on the rail. Got all that put back together. I had to undo the plug wires, which I need to anyways to get to the rear spark plugs. So I'm about to grab me a 5/8 deep socket and get these other 3 spark plugs out and get these 104s installed, and then I can put the plug wires back on. And I still need to do all the fuse box to get all that other harness out. I was just kind of trying to get all this stuff done at once. So yeah, I'm going to keep working on her, and I'll give you guys another update here shortly. Alright, you guys, so I've been working on this thing for a while now. So I've got pretty much all of the old harness off of the engine. Like I said before, I still haven't pulled the fuse box out or disconnected it from the ECM and got the actual harness out, but I've got everything disconnected from the engine. So what I went ahead and did was I grabbed both of the pieces of harness that I got from Gauge, and I just wanted to kind of run them to see how they're going to sit. So right now, this is the first piece of harness. So this was another harness that I had. I just kind of put some new red loom all around it and zip tied it on, because I don't have any electrical tape here with me. But because I can't get this bracket to come off, I can't put the ground on. So I'm going to have to wait until I have the jack and stuff so I can at least lift the engine and stuff a little bit. And then once I get it lifted, I'll be able to pull that pulley off and pull this whole bracket off. Because I'm also having issues getting to... I've got the crank sensor plug unplugged and the cam sensor plug unplugged. But so this cam sensor plug, it runs over the top side of the crank pulley like this. And there's a dust shield, and it clips into that dust shield in like 3 places and then plugs in like this into the cam sensor. So I have it unplugged, but I can't get it unclipped out of those clips without removing the water pump pulley. And I hadn't got that far yet. And even before, like, even if I remove the water pump pulley, I can get that old pieces of harness off, but I'm still not going to be able to run this new harness until I get this bracket off, because it has to go behind that bracket and then down between the water fill neck, or not the water fill, but that radiator hose out right there. It tucks in right behind that. So yeah, this is going to have to come off for me to run this new wire and to put the ground wire on there. But I mean, I've made a lot of progress. So I've got that made. So it just needs to be ran down and plugged in to the crank sensor and the cam sensor, and then get the ground put on. So that part is done. Okay, so now this was the main part of the harness. It plugs into the main engine harness here. And I don't know, he's got a jumper wire here, which he didn't specify what this goes to. And then there's another jumper wire right here, which he didn't specify what that goes to. So I don't know if I need to just connect these 2 together or what the deal is with that. Maybe this just needs to come over here to the front like this so that they can connect to each other. And it just goes, maybe this all just goes around the back side like this. That's possible. Something like that. That's going to really interfere with that intercooler setup there. But we can make something like that happen. But it needs to be somewhat, I guess, to where that can reach that and plug in. Okay. And then this goes to the wire that normally goes to the coil packs on this side. And then this one goes over and plugs into the one on the opposite side. And then this other harness, where's the other one? Yeah, so this one, it plugs into the injectors and then has the map sensor. And I have the map sensor up top. This one won't reach it. It's like very close, but it's not going to reach it. So I'm going to have to flip that map sensor upside down so it will plug in from the bottom. And then, yeah, just kind of situate all this. This plug here goes down to the crank sensor, which is normally down by the AC compressor on the Grand Am engine. And, yeah, and then that's pretty much everything. So, I mean, other than that, like, everything is in here, really nice and simple. Like, this is a really easy to use harness. See, I've got it plugged down here to the coolant temp sensor. Runs up here to all three of the front three injectors. He labeled, like, all the injector plugs are labeled 1, 3, and 5 for the front, like just how they would be on a 3.8. So, I mean, this is really nice harness. Like, I love it. For $220 for this harness, it's definitely well worth it. So yeah, I'm really excited about all of this. So now I just gotta, like I said, remove this water pump pulley. I need to lift the engine a little bit in the front so I can get this bracket off. And then, yeah, once I get the that bracket off, I can get all this ran, get all this wiring stuff situated and figured out. And I've still got to pull all that fuse box out and get all that disconnected so I can get the new harness from Gage, the 04 harness, in and ran. And then it will just plug right into this, and then I can go ahead and bolt the alternator back in and get the belts back on and get everything back together. And then once it's all back together, this thing should fire up. Like, it gets good fuel pressure. I swapped all the fuel injectors around. I still have one more. I have cylinder 2. I've got to get the old spark plug out. These are the other 2. And I've just got one more 104 left. So I just got to swap one more, and then that'll be all the spark plugs have been swapped, all the fuel injectors have been swapped, all the spark plug wires have been swapped, the coils, the ICM, like everything has been swapped to different. I'm still unsure about these coils, and this is the ICM that came on the 06 over here, because as y'all seen, I robbed the coils and ICM off of the Grand Am to put onto the 06 so I could get it running. And then these are the brand new cheapo coils, Blue Streak, that came on it. And then this one's a different brand. It looks identical, but it doesn't say Blue Streak on it at all. But I don't know. Those are the new coils that came on it. So if it runs like shit or has a misfire with these, then I'll swap those on and see if it runs any better with those. Like I said, it could also be this ICM, so I might have to dig through some stuff and find another ICM, because I've done sold the one I had on the 07 like a dumbass with this whole bracket. But it is what it is. Like, the guy needed the parts. I was selling everything, so I sold it. But yeah, overall everything's going really well. I really like how this harness is set up. So Gage, I don't know if you watch this, thank you. I really appreciate it. This is awesome. Like, so user friendly, just plug and play. And like, he even went the extra mile and sent me the whole extra engine harness just so he would know that it would work for me. And it's for my year, so he really just doesn't want me to have any issues. So Gage, once again, thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, other than that, everything's going really well. Like, now it's just going to be, once I get the fuse box out and get all this old pieces of harness out, then it's just going to be running this new harness, plugging it in, and she should fire. So I'm going to keep working on this. It's already like 9:10 or so, a little bit after 9. So I'm going to keep working on this for probably about another hour. And then I'll give you guys another update. And then after that, I'm probably going to call it a night. So y'all stay tuned. I'll give you guys another update here shortly. Alright, you guys. So I've been working on this thing. It's 10:30. I've got most of this new harness all wired up. I was about to install the new starter and the one off the 07. And I don't know, I'm tired. It's been a long day. I've got to get up and go to work tomorrow. So I'm going to call it a night and get everything picked up. But man, like really, once I get this fuse box out and get the rest of this old harness out, then I can just take this other piece of harness. I've got it up there in the box. But I can take the other harness and just plug it in and run it and just get everything plugged back in. And once everything is hooked back up and plugs into this over here, then once it plugs into this over here, then everything should work properly and it should just fire up. So it's getting there. It's just been a long night. I've been messing with this thing, so I can't really get any further on the coil bracket until I get the jack over here so I can lift the front of the engine up a little bit to get this bracket off. And then once I get this off, it'll give me a little more room to get down there and get the water pump pulley off. And then I'll be able to get that old harness out of there and get that cam sensor plug out, like unstuck out of that dust shield. And then once I get that all done, then I can run this new harness that I've got in here. I can hook up the ground where I need it to go back in here on this stud. And then I can run this cam sensor plug and crank sensor plug back behind everything, behind this bracket, tuck it back behind the water neck there for the lower radiator hose, and tuck everything back behind there so it's nice and tucked away from the belts. And then once that's on, then everything should just fire up. And I started hooking up these intercooler hoses, and I got the fill neck on there. So hopefully we don't have any issues with those hitting belts like I did on the 07. But like I said, we'll figure it out. So, but yeah, I just wanted to give you all this update. That's going to be it for tonight. So I'm going to get everything packed up and put back in here, get the power unplugged and everything put up and locked up. And then I'm going to head home for the night and go take a shower and go to bed. So y'all stay tuned, and I'll catch you guys back over here tomorrow. Alright, y'all, so I'm back over here at the Grand Am storage. It's Friday. It's about 6 o'clock. So still got quite a bit of stuff I need to get done. I need to pull this fuse box out, pull the fuse box tray out, drop the ECM from under the driver's floorboard, get that undone, remove all this old wiring harness. I've got to undo the ground down here by the motor mount. I just chopped off that piece of harness for that ground. So I've got to get that undone. Then I can get the new harness out of the box, start getting all of it ran and situated, get it ran back through the firewall, back into the fuse box. So that's where I'm starting at today, is going to be getting all of this old wire harness out so I can get the new wire harness in. And then last night I was talking to Gage, and he told me I need to get the Grand Am 3.4 map sensor because this map sensor plug doesn't plug in all the way. So I'm going to have to get a Grand Am map sensor so I can swap out onto that bracket, and then it should just plug right in. So that's something I need to get from the salvage yard over the weekend. And yeah, and then I still need to swap out the rear exhaust manifold for the power log, and then get the ceramic crossover on. So that's something else I'm going to have to get done this weekend. And all that's got to get done before I can do the first start. So, but yeah, that's where we're at. So I'm going to get to work on getting this fuse box removed and getting everything disconnected and get all this old harness out of here, and then I'll give you guys another update. Alright, you guys, so I just finished getting all of the old harness out of the Grand Am. So she's bare in here now. I had to take out the battery tray, the fuse box tray. Here's the fuse box. So it was a lot of finagling to get it out of here, but I got it out. So that was nice. It gave me a lot more room in here. There are still a couple other things I need to get done. So let's see. I don't know where that goes. I don't remember where that goes to, but it got ripped out of the harness, whatever that was. But yeah, I think that was this plug here in the transmission. But it's cool. I have I have both of the plugs for the transmission right here with some nice length of wire on them. And I'm pretty sure that on this harness the Gage sent me, he just left a couple spots where the wires will just crimp right on. He labeled it somewhere. That's throttle position. Okay. There's one spot on this harness somewhere that, or a couple spots where it's just some wires that he's labeled. And he also sent me some crimps. And all I'll have to do is just crimp them onto the wires and plug it in. And that's that. And he said it was just like the reverse lights and the speed sensor. I don't know, one of them he said just plugs in and the other one I have to wire in. I don't remember. But, man, it's getting super close. So, all the old harnesses out. Now I can get this harness out, kind of lay it over, start running it, getting everything ran. I might end up doing this this rear power log before I put the other harness back in. That way I don't have all this extra wire in my way. It looks like right now all I'm going to have to do is just undo this one 10mm bolt here, holding on the fuel pressure regulator and the map sensor. And I can kind of swivel it out of the way. It'll give me a little bit more room back here. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got to do to give me that little bit of extra space that I need. So hopefully this isn't too much of a pain in the ass, and I can get this swapped out with it in the car. So I guess I'm going to get to work on swapping out this rear exhaust manifold, and then I'll give you guys another update. Alright, y'all, so been working on this thing. I've got all the fuel lines disconnected. I went ahead and added these little holders that I could never get to before with everything installed down there. So now this will pretty much just flip right back around. Both of the lines will go right down to the feed and the return line down there under the booster. So those are pretty much out of my way. I've got this harness all tucked out of my way. I've already got the O2 sensor removed. It's up there. And I just got that heat shield removed. It's sitting right over there with the front manifold. And so now I just got to get these 13mm bolts out of here so I can remove this rear manifold. And then once I get that rear manifold out, I can go ahead and put in this rear power log that has the EGR block off plate on it still. And then also I cannot forget, I have to put some RTV on this block off plate and tighten it back down, because that is off of the other lower intake manifold. But I mean, other than that, everything is going very well. So I just got to finish getting this stuff off of here, this rear manifold with this EGR. And once that's off, then it's just putting stuff back together. Then once I get the exhaust back together, I can go ahead and run the harness, start getting everything plugged in, and yeah, and then we should be in the clear. And then also over here, I got the jack out, and I put this wood block on the oil pan. I had to take off this dog bone to be able to lift up the side a little bit, because I was able to lift the engine. I was able to get my pulley off of the bracket and slide the whole bracket over. I wasn't able to remove it completely, but I was able to slide it over so I could get all of that old harness, which is all back here. So I was able to get the rest of that, the ICM to crank sensor to cam sensor wire all removed. And I've got everything else is plugged in. I've got my ground connected right here on the stud. Sandwiched between the bracket and the head, which is how I like to do it. So that's on there. I was able to get everything tightened down. Tensioners back on, pulleys back on. The ICM is plugged in. So everything has this nice red wire loom. I had a brain fart for a second there. But yeah, so I've got the crank pulley, or the crank sensor is installed. It's plugged in. Then I have the cam sensor wraps around the top side of the crank pulley. But I still have to remove the water pump pulley to be able to plug it in. You can see it just chilling right there on the crank pulley. So I'm going to have to remove that water pump pulley to get under there to actually plug it in and tuck the wires in that dust shield that goes behind the crank pulley. And then that will keep that wire out of the way from getting caught on the belt and ripping anything out of the block. So yeah, that's just about done over there. And so it's pretty much, I just got to get this rear manifold off and pull that water pump pulley to plug that in. And then it can go right back together. And then once I get the harness ran over here, the way that this alternator goes on is the plug is on the bottom side. And whenever I bolt it on, it's straight down on the bottom. There's no way to unplug it. So I have to plug it in first and then put the alternator on. And so that's why I still have the alternator removed. Plus it gives me a little bit more room over here. But yeah, it's getting super close now. So now that I have this harness from Gage, I'm super confident that this thing's going to start once it's wired. So it's coming along. It's getting there. So I'm going to keep working on this. And I'll give you guys another update. Alright, you guys. So got the power log on. So now I just got to get the crossover pipe installed. And I'll bolt right down to these. Looks like my flange is hitting that bracket just a tiny little bit. So I have to get that turned so I can get that in there properly. But I'll get it. And then I've got the down pipe just kind of loosely bolted back on to the rear manifold. There's not a gasket in there yet, so I'm still going to have to get a gasket and put in there. But overall, rear power log is on, front power log is on. Crossover pipe is going to be real easy, 4 bolts, and that will be on. I was kind of debating on wrapping that with some heat wrap just because it's going to be right here next to this clutch line. But I don't know, I guess we'll see. But yeah, I made a lot of progress today. Say it's already past 11 o'clock, so my storage is already closed. So really I need to start picking up and getting all this stuff back in here so I can get out of here before security comes, because if security gets here, they're going to write me up. And if I get wrote up too many times, then they'll kick me out of here. So don't need that happening. So I'm going to go ahead and start picking everything up and getting everything put up. And that's going to be it for tonight. So y'all stay tuned, and I'll catch you guys back over here tomorrow. Alright, you guys. So I'm back over here again. It is Saturday. It's about 9 a.m. And man, I'm tired, but it's all good. I'm going to get this back together today. So I've got Shaylee's birthday parties at 2 o'clock today. So I've got about 4.5 hours before I need to leave. So I'm going to go ahead and get to work on this thing. Start getting everything put back together. Get this crossover pipe on. Start getting this harness out of this box. Start getting it laid back out. And go from there. So yeah, I'm just going to jump right into it. Go ahead and get this crossover pipe installed and grab this harness to start getting everything connected. And I'll give you guys another update. Alright, you guys. So I've got the crossover pipe is on. Everything is tight. Rear manifold's tight. I got the EGR block off plate RTV'd on, and that is tight. So now I can start running this other harness. That's pretty much everything I needed to get done. I was able to get my bolt back in there. I just had to put it in. I had to pull that bolt out, kind of adjust my rear flange here off of the rear power log, and then put the bolt back in. because as you can tell, once I put the crossover on, you can't get to it any longer. So, but it is together. Everything's looking good. I got a fresh donut gasket in there because the old one, I tossed it over here. Where'd it go? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, this old one, it was all busted. And that was actually a new one not that long ago. But it's busted, so I put another new one on there. It's a good thing I had these laying around. But yeah, so now I can start laying out this harness on top of this engine, kind of start maneuvering everything where I need it to go. And then once I get this harness in, I can get the fuse box tray back in and the fuse box and start getting everything hooked back up. So I'm going to keep working on this, and I'll give you guys another update here in just a little bit. Alright, y'all, so I was working on the exhaust. I was bolting on the downpipe, the ZZP catless downpipe. And so whenever I had it under there, the rear power log, it's wanting to sit at an angle like this. And when I go to tighten it down, it's sucking it down, but it makes the bottom side down there go up at an angle, and it was hitting on the bottom of the car. So the ZZP catless downpipe isn't gonna work, which sucks, but it is what it is. It's not gonna work. So I went ahead and I got the downpipe from Gage out of the box, and I've already cut off. Where did the other flange go? Well, I cut off the flange already. There they are. So this is what was on there. I had previously welded this flange on because that was supposed to be where the ZZP downpipe bolted on. But Gage told me to cut it off right on the back side of this 3-bolt flange. And I did, so I got it cut off. The downpipe that he made and sent me just slid right over and goes right up there. So I went through some of my stuff back here, found me a stock style gasket. So I'm going to get that gasket in there and get that downpipe bolted up. And I mean, you can see it's right there. So yeah, I'm going to keep working on this thing, get this exhaust connected. I don't know what I'm going to do down here yet, if I want to clamp that or weld it. But for now, it's at least connected. So I'm going to get this rear downpipe flange bolted on to the rear power log with this gasket. And then I can start running this harness and getting everything plugged in. So I just want to give y'all an update, take y'all along, show y'all everything that's going on with this thing. So y'all stay tuned. I'll give y'all another update. Alright, you guys, so I'm sitting up on the engine, and bam, look there, rear power log is on, downpipe is connected, got my gasket in there, I've got both nuts and bolts as tight as they'll go. It looks like there's still a little bit of a gap in there. Hopefully that little ring on the center of the gasket seals that. Hopefully. I guess we'll find out. But exhaust is now together. It slid on back there at the resonator. Give me a sec. But yeah, so exhaust is slid on down here at the resonator. So now everything is tucked up there nice. Everything's fitting really nicely, actually. So now it's just going to be running the O2 into the bung. And I'm going to have to try to get this O2 out of this piece of pipe, and that thing is rusted in there. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get that one out. So I might have to go buy a brand new O2. But I don't know. Gage was also saying that I could just leave that out and just run the wideband in that bung. So I don't know. I'm not even going to mess with that right now. I'll save that for later. Right now, since all the exhaust is done, crossover's on, everything's on, the next step is running this harness. So I'm going to start running this harness. And then once I get everything kind of laid back over here, I'll take the fuel pressure regulator and the map and swivel it back and bolt it back down to the back side of the blower and connect my two fuel lines back down here to the feed and the return. And we'll go from there. So I'm going to keep working on this and I'll give you guys another update. All right, you guys, it's noon. Been working on this thing. So I've got this new harness is laid out everywhere. So I've got it tucked back through the firewall down here. And coming out down here in the floorboard. And then I also ran the wideband O2 plug through the same hole. So that way I can just tuck that back behind the carpet or whatever. And yeah, that should keep all that working, and should give me plenty of room for that. So yeah, so I've got that ran. I've got it tucked over here, ran along the back side of the engine. I've got the upstream O2 is plugged in. I have pretty much all of this stuff up here. The I want to say that's the idle air control and the purge valve. And that is for the EGR, which I'm not using. I have to take pin C. It's one of these brown wires with a white line, but Gage said it was pin C and it's labeled. So I'm going to have to take pin C. It's probably that very middle one right there. But that has to get wired to the 5-volt output logging wire that's coming from the AEM wideband. And that's got to go into pin C. And then that way, as the wideband is working, it will pretty much send it into this pin, which will then use a stock harness to relay it to the computer. And Gage said it will kind of self-learn, self-tune itself for that. And he said I could just delete the downstream O2. So that's what I did. I did manage to get that other O2 off of the pipe I cut out, but I'm not going to use that. So I've already got the wideband sensor installed up here. So it's in there. Ran up there to the front, and then goes right in that hole down into the driver floorboard. So you can see it right there. But yeah, I mean, other than that, everything's going really well. The only thing I did notice was that he cut off this wire, and he had this labeled as throttle position sensor, which for my North Star, it's not going to work. So I'm going to have to get part of the other harness that I just removed. I'm going to have to cut this off, re-splice in the sensor plug that I need. But that's okay. I'm sure that he was using like the stock L67 throttle body or something. And so this was probably needed for using the stock L67. But since I have the North Star throttle body, then it's a little bit different. So I'm not mad at Gage at all. Like I said, everything that he's done with this harnesses and stuff, like, it just makes this so simple, so easy, plug and play. I mean, this is very nice. Like, I'm excited about this, like, for real. So, and then, yeah, this is the adapter for the LQ4 MAF. So those all plug in just like it did with the other harness. So this is the only plug up here that is not correct, so I just got to fix that one. And then I've got to get a 3/4 map sensor so that the map sensor plug will plug into the map. And yeah, then other than that, it's just I need to get the fuse box tray back in here and have all these wires tucked underneath so that it's all out of the way. And then once I get that fuse box tray back in here, I can go ahead and rehook up these two plugs into the fuse box and start getting everything reinstalled and get everything hooked back up. But yeah, I mean, overall, this thing is coming along. Like, this thing is just awesome. I love it. I'm stoked. So I'm going to keep working on it and try to get some of this other wires situated and ran and get everything plugged in. And hopefully I can get a first start. Probably not going to be today. Like I said, I only have like an hour and a half till I need to leave to go to Shaylee's birthday. So probably not going to get a shit ton done, but I at least want to try to get all this harness situated and plugged back in on the engine. And then I'll just have to splice that one wire. But man, it's getting close. So y'all stay tuned. I'm going to keep working and I'll give y'all another update before I leave. Alright, you guys. So I'm back over here. It's about 4 o'clock. Just got back from Shaylee's birthday party. Went out to the park. She had lots of fun. So I'm glad she had a good day for her birthday. So I'm back over here. Gonna keep working on this thing. So I didn't show up before I left, but I messaged Gage and, you know, asked him about that plug. He said, yeah, he didn't know I had a North Star. So he told me just chop it off, match up the wires. So those are my 3 wires. So I just got to get all that taped up. And probably going to put some crimps on there and actually crimp them. He did send me these 4. So you crimp them and then heat up the end. And it's got a heat shrink on the end. There's actually some really nice butt connectors. I have the one that I cut off earlier. And don't remember what I did with it. Oh, there it is. But yeah, see, heat them up and they heat shrink down around the wire. So really nice butt connectors. That was just the wrong plug. So, but no worries. I've got this one on. It plugs in. Everything's good there. So just need to wire that up. And I still need to go to the salvage yard and get another map sensor. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I think it should still start using the L67 map sensor. But if it doesn't, then at least I'll know. But yeah, so I'm going to keep working on this and just trying to sort out all these wires and figure out where everything's going and get everything plugged back in. And I'll give you guys updates as I go along. So y'all stay tuned. Alright, you guys, so I've been working under here. And alright, so I've got my harness ran down. I've got the wheel speed sensor over here ran and plugged in over on the driver's side. I have the starter hook back up, the front knock sensor, the AC compressor, and the crank sensor. I have it zip tied up right up here and just zip tied out of the way. And then this red loom right there is the wire that goes to the oil pressure sensor, in which on the 3.8 is on the back side of the engine. On the 3.4 it's up there like above where the starter is. And so the plug is normally right here. So I wired in that part to extend it because Gage didn't do that. And so that is now, everything on the front is now all hooked up. This wire here is just to plug that oil level sensor because it's a brand new sensor, but it was leaking. And so that was the closest thing I had with the correct plug, and I just plugged it in there so it wouldn't drip all the brand new oil out. But other than that, other than it dripping out of that, there's no oil leaks from anything. There's no leaks at all. So, very happy with the progress. So now, oh yeah, and I got the ABS module hooked up. I got all this washer fluid tank all plugged back in. So now the only thing I have left is I've got to run this. So this goes down, and then that runs across to the wheel speed sensor on the passenger side. And then this goes to the speed sensor on the transmission. And then this is the ground wire. It goes on this bolt right here. Oh yeah, that one right there. See what else we got. That's just a bracket to hold the harness. The downstream O2, we are not using this. So this just gets left unplugged with nothing in it. And that normally goes onto the shift selector on the automatic transmission. So that doesn't get plugged into anything. And then these are for the reverse lights. So I'll just have to splice these in and wire this into the reverse lights. And yeah, so I believe it's the plug that's over here on right down here on the transmission is for the reverse lights. And I have the plug, one of these two plugs over here. I think it's this black one with the yellow and black wire. Will plug in and then it will go up and just wire right into that. Oh yeah, this right here. So that will be the reverse lights. And then this harness here, it just needs to go right across there. It plugs into both of the fans and then over there to the AC line with that little circle plug, which is the same exact plug as the throttle position. That's crazy. But yeah, so I mean the harness is getting really close to being all back together. I just had someone message me a couple minutes ago and they're wanting to buy that turbo and have it posted for 125 bucks. So I'm about to get everything picked up real quick and head over to the house so I can go meet them and sell this turbo. And if it's not too late, then I'll come back over here and try to continue working on this thing and get all the wire harness situated. But like I said, it's probably not going to run in this video. So I'm going to get everything picked up and head over to the house, and then I'll give you guys another update. Alright, y'all. Well, I'm leaving the house. So right as soon as I got home, the people texted me back and said that her husband changed their mind. And I was like, dude, this is ridiculous. Like, y'all said you wanted it. So I packed up my shit, headed home, gave you my address so you could meet me here. And then you changed your mind. So, done wasting my time, wasting my gas. So now I'm headed back over to the storage to go continue working on the Grand Am. And yeah, I guess I'm only selling stuff and shipping. I guess I ain't doing no local pickup until, or it's just gonna have to wait till a day that I'm not doing something, which is like never. So but yeah, I don't know, this is ridiculous how people are shopping with no fucking money and, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this, and then can't fucking pay for shit. But yeah, so I'm headed back over to the storage, so I'll give y'all another update once I make it back over there. Alright, YouTube, so I've been working on this thing. I've got pretty much all of the harness ran. I've got the fuse box tray back in, fuse box is in, it's all hooked up, battery tray's in. I had to disconnect the throttle cables just because there was so much going on right here. It got in my way. And then whenever I was moving it up, the cable caught on the yeah, this is the one I had in there, and it broke the end right off, right there. So luckily I had another one. It's not the exact same shape as that one and style, but it does go down and click onto the line, and it comes up here and clicks onto the line. So it'll work. It is a little bit close to the exhaust manifold. So I don't know, I might zip tie it up here like this or something. I guess I'd keep it a little bit farther away from the crossover pipe and from the exhaust so it doesn't melt. But pretty much everything in the engine bay is hooked up and plugged in. I still have to put the 3 rear spark plug wires back on, but that'll take 2 seconds. And then, yeah, other than that, everything is back in and hooked back up. Down here, I still have to wire the reverse lights into the plug. You can see the wires coming down right here from my plug right up there. So I just have to wire these 2 wires onto these 2 wires and shorten that up a really good deal. And the reverse lights will be wired up. And the only other thing that's left is I just got to hook the computer back up to the harness and get all that plugged back in and put the battery in. And then this thing should crank and start. So I'm going to go ahead and get that ECM all plugged in and get everything hooked up. Get these throttle cables hooked back up. Get the air intake and filter back on. Get the mass airflow plugged back in. And then, yeah, then get the battery in and we should be able to at least crank it over. The belts aren't back on yet. They're both just still chilling up here. So I still have to get both the belts back on, and I need to finish running the intercooler lines and hook the pump up. But I should be able to start it up and at least hear it run without all that. So I'm going to keep working on this, and I'll give you guys another update. All right, you guys, it is 10:09. I have less than an hour until I have to leave. But pretty much everything is hooked up except for that one speed sensor, or no, the reverse lights over on that side. I've got both of the belts back on. I had to do some zip tying to keep them off of belts. It's super close. I'll have to figure something out before it actually gets driven, because it's way tighter clearances than it was in the pre. But I've got the battery back in and hooked up, bolted down, intakes on, mass airflow sensors plugged in, got my 3 rear spark plug wires on. I do have the map sensor plugged in, but like I said, I'm not sure if it's going to work or not. So other than that, everything is hooked up. All my grounds are on. So I guess let's see if she fires up. Oh, it cranks with the key. Alright, something's going on. It's showing I don't have any gas either. So I know that's not right. Okay. Let me see if I can jump the unstarter. I wonder if it's in gear. I'm not seeing anything. Alright. Let's see if she'll crank jumping it. Alright, so crank, no start. So I wonder what it could be. I got the cam sensor plugged in, crank sensors plugged in. Everything over here is plugged in. And I'm not sure what else it would be. Looks like I lost a, it's probably for the AC compressor on the old plug. But, I mean, you can see the crank sensor's plugged in right there. Can't really see the cam sensor, but it is plugged in. Let's see, can you see it anywhere? I guess not really. Well, I try to give you all of you. I did get it on, I promise. Well, I promise I did get it plugged in. It's plugged in. It's back there somewhere. Well, that kind of sucks. I was really hoping that thing was just going to fire right up. I guess, let me see what's going on. It could be this map sensor. Like I said, I'm not for sure. If we're showing about 50 psi of fuel. I just don't know why it's not wanting to stay cranking. Well, that sucks. Alright, well, I'm going to give up on it for tonight, and I will come back tomorrow in the daylight and keep working on it, but I think that's going to be it for this video. It's already going to be a really long video, so if you guys liked the video, leave me a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below, and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos, and hopefully we'll have a first start in the next video. So thanks for watching, you guys. Have a good night. I'll catch you in the next one.